Some of you may not know that Blue Ridge Parkway is one of the most visited units of the National Park Service. 16.7 million people visited last year. It's one of the highest economic contributors of all the national park units in the country. And we were projecting to have pretty significant rain as well. The National Weather Service showed, between a foot and 3 feet of rain, depending on where you were on the parkway, including up at Mount Mitchell. We preemptively closed the park on the 26th and kept that closure in place through into the 27th, with plans to open as soon as possible. And I think you guys know how that went. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. We've worked with the United States Geologic Survey as well as NASA and others to document almost 2,000 slides that have occurred in the region. You can see some of these marked here in gray and red dots. The red dots represent slides that actually had some kind of impact to streams, rivers, and roads, and those would include those on the parkway. Our major slide area, what I would call the war zone of the impact on the parkway, was between Linville Falls and Mount Mitchell. Roughly about 47 slide areas just in that section. In addition to that section, we had slides at mile marker 224 to our north and 284 down at 306, and then down around Mount Pisgah in the 400 to 420 mile marker zone. Additional impacts beyond roadway slides, which I'm going to show you some pictures of, included massive natural and cultural resource damage, significant trail damage and erosion, damage to historic, nationally significant structures, significant siltation of ponds, things like historic mill ponds, massive amounts of debris, cataclysmic amounts of debris like you saw off the parkway, significant damage to drainage, culverts, and of course access. You all know what the widespread damage looked like on the left. That's State Route 70 or US 74 going underneath the parkway, both as a road and then as the Swanville River. And then of course McDowell County was no stranger to the damage. The parkway response really began on the 26th and the 27th as we had the pre-storm and then Helene. Our first and foremost objective was employee accountability. We were able to account for 100% of our employees, thankfully. We did not lose any employees. We're very grateful for that, but many did lose family members, homes, and belongings and communities like all of us. We really wanted to focus initially after we got stood up with finding all our employees was to reinstitute access to places so we could get in and understand the damage, as well as reestablish things like critical telecommunications towers, places like at Mount Mitchell and others where outside entities depend on towers that are located on parkway lands and some have been damaged. We wanted to ensure public and employee safety because of what you'll see in the pictures, the significant damage. I know some of you know about people who've driven around cement barriers, unfortunately, and we knew that that would happen if we didn't get barriers out quickly, so we deployed a lot of barriers. In the incident management world, which we're a part of, we hosted 2 Type 2 teams, which are very large teams. Hundreds of people came from national park units all around the country and were deployed in North Carolina and Virginia on the parkway. After 2 weeks each of those, we then had a Type 3 team. So that was 6 weeks of teams of National Park Service employees from all over the country, more than 300 people total. And then it came back to the Park Service. This is just kind of typical after we cut through for a few weeks. The North Carolina road damage locations were pretty much almost the entirety. We were spared a bit down on the southern end, and it was pretty light on the northern end, but like I said, between Linville Falls and Mount Mitchell was pretty significant. And I talked about some of the damage, but I'm going to get to some of the photos. Just 11 miles in the Asheville corridor required more than 300 truckloads of material being removed after a full month of 14-hour-a-day work, cutting and stacking and moving and shipping and moving and stacking. And
so it burned, you just basically chipped it all right.
Correct, yeah. Well, so what we did was we had a contractor come in. We did a lot of the work ourselves and had a contractor come in to remove what lumber could be saved, went to mill, because it was all clean. It was up on the top of the mountain. And then what could be provided, the firewood was provided firewood and then chipped for heat. So nothing's lost. The contractor that took it was a certified Native American company associated with EBCI, and they were able to provide those resources for others. These are some of our Park Service workers and just kind of what it looked like on the parkway. We had significant amounts of debris at the, where we brought it all together at the Folk Art Center. I won't play this whole video, but I'll just kind of fly in. We turned the Folk Art Center down near Asheville into a production zone where we used a giant chipper to try to move the trees that we found, and that is probably about 1/10 of the total trees that you're seeing there.